You are 32, Virginia. But you are not there now. You are hanging in the roaring dark above a city of neon smeared by monsoon rain, your gloved hands on the fast rope as the Blackhawk's turbines wind down to a whisper. The world is a vibration through your bones, and the cold slap of water on your visor, and below you the presidential palace sprawls like a concrete tomb, its roof tiles slick and black under a sky that has forgotten the moon. The rope burns through your gloves as you descend into the torrent, the downdraft trying to peel you from the line, and your boots hit the sloping tiles with a jarring impact that echoes up your spine. You release the rope and drop into a crouch, the rain sheeting off your armor as you scan the roof line through the green haze of your night vision, and you see the others landing like black ghosts around you, their shapes merging with the shadows of the palace's ornate, brutalist spires. Viper's voice is a calm scratch in your ear, giving the move signal, and you rise from your crouch to lead the team across the treacherous roof, your boots finding purchase on the wet clay tiles as you move in a low, steady rush toward a service door set into a concrete bulkhead. The rain masks all sound, turning the world into a hissing curtain, and you reach the door to find it locked with a heavy padlock that gleams dully in your night vision. A simple obstacle in a palace of many. You don't waste time with picks or codes because the lock is old and the hasp is rusted, so you press the muzzle of your suppressor against it and fire once, the sound lost in the storm's roar and the report a dull thump you feel in your teeth. The lock shatters and the door swings inward on groaning hinges, revealing a dark stairwell that smells of dust and mildew, and you enter first, your night vision, painting the concrete steps in a grainy green as the team flows in behind you, sealing out the rain. The silence inside is absolute after the storm's roar, a thick and waiting quiet that presses against your eardrums, and you descend the narrow service stairs, with your weapon raised, each step a deliberate placement on concrete worn smooth by decades of unseen feet. The air is cool and stale, carry on the ghost of old grease and damp stone, and your night vision reveals peeling paint and a single bare bulb at the next landing, its filament dead and cold in the green gloom. You reach the landing and pause, listening to the silence that is deeper than any quiet you have known, and you signal the team to hold as you edge forward to peer through a wire-reinforced window set into a heavy steel door. Beyond it lies a grand hallway, its marble floor gleaming under the faint, sickly gold light of ornate wall sconces, and the scale of the space hits you like a physical blow, a vast and empty corridor that seems to swallow sound and light whole. You push the steel door open on silent hinges, and the team flows into the grand hallway like ink spreading in water, the marble floor cold and vast beneath your boots, and the ceiling lost in shadow high above. The air here is different, scented with floor wax and the faint, cloying perfume of incense that clings to the blood-red carpets running the hall's impossible length, and you move in a low crouch along the wall, your world reduced to the circle of your optics and the next gilded door frame. You pass beneath a massive portrait of the chairman, his painted eyes seeming to follow your progress down the hall, and the silence is broken by the distant, tinny echo of state television from somewhere deep in the palace's heart. a propagandist's voice chanting slogans that are swallowed by the marble. You reach a junction where the hallway splits, one branch leading toward the administrative wing, and the other descending into the private residence, and Viper's voice whispers in your ear to take the left fork down. You take the left fork, and the hallway begins a slow, curving descent. The marble giving way to a darker wood parquet, and the air growing warmer and thicker with the scent of cigar smoke and sandalwood. The propagandist's voice fades behind you, replaced by the soft, rhythmic creak of the palace settling around you, and you move past closed doors of lacquered teak, each one a potential ambush point that you clear with a glance and a held breath as you descend deeper into the monster's den. The hallway ends at a pair of towering carved doors, and you press your ear against the cool wood to hear nothing but the frantic drum of your own pulse. Then you nod to the breacher, who places a soft charge on the hinges. Fu. You take a breath that tastes of cordite and old incense, and the world fractures into a silent flash of light, and a concussive thump that slams the doors inward to reveal a cavernous antechamber where two young guards are scrambling up from a card game, their faces frozen in the green wash of your optics. Your finger finds the trigger before your mind can form the thought, and the suppressed shots are two soft, wet punches in the heavy air, and the first guard crumples over the table, scattering playing cards across the floor. The second boy is half-turned, his hand fumbling for his holstered pistol, and your second pair of shots catch him in the chest and throat, and he falls against a lacquered cabinet with a sound like a sack of grain. The room is silent again, save for the soft patter of blood on parquet. You step over the scattered cards and the spreading dark pool on the floor, the smell of cordite and copper sharp in your nose, and you move through the antechamber toward an inner door of lighter wood, your boots silent on the parquet. The door is unlocked and you push it open to enter the chairman's private study, a room of deep leather chairs and floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with unread volumes, the air thick with the ghost of his cigars and the profound, empty silence of power. You move through the study, your gloved fingers brushing the spines of leather-bound books that have never been opened, and you see the chairman's desk is a vast expanse of polished mahogany, its surface bare save for a single jade paperweight and a photograph of him with his wife, both smiling in a sunlit garden that feels a universe away from this silent tomb. The air is so still you can hear the faint hum of the palace's electrical systems, and you cross to the far wall where another door, this one covered in red silk, promises the final descent into the residence. You push the silk-covered door open, and it yields without a sound, revealing a short, dimly lit corridor that smells of perfume and sleep. And at its end, you see the master suite's door, a slab of dark teak inlaid with mother-of-pearl flowers. So, you move down the corridor with your weapon raised, your breath held, and you can hear the faint, rhythmic sound of someone snoring from behind the door, a mundane human noise that feels obscenely out of a place in this palace of silent dread. You press your back against the wall beside the teak door, the snoring from within a steady, vulnerable rhythm, and you nod to the breacher who silently attaches the charge to the lock. You take a final breath of the perfumed air, your finger resting alongside the trigger guard, and the breacher's hand comes down in a silent count. The charge detonates with a muffled crack, and you are the first one through the splintered doorway, your weapon sweeping the room's dark expanse as the snoring chokes into a gasp of terror. Your night vision blooms as you clear the threshold, painting the vast bedroom in grainy green, and you see them in the oversized bed, the chairman scrambling back against the headboard in silk pajamas, while his wife clutches the sheets to her chest, her mouth a perfect circle of silent shock. You sweep the corners and the balcony doors, your team flowing in to secure the room, and the only sounds are the frantic rustle of silk and the ragged, terrified breaths of the two people you were sent to extract. You keep your weapon trained on the bed as Viper's voice crackles in your ear, confirming the package is secure, and you move forward while your team covers the room, your boots sinking into the deep pile of a carpet that cost more than your annual salary. The chairman's eyes are wide with a fear that strips him of all his poster's grandeur, and his wife is weeping silently into her hands, the two of them looking small and old and utterly human in the green gloom of your optics. You holster your weapon and pull a set of flex cuffs from your rig, the plastic strips cold in your gloved hands as you approach the bed, and the chairman offers his wrists without a word, his arms trembling as you secure them with a practiced, impersonal efficiency. His wife flinches when you turn to her, her eyes pleading over her knuckles, but she too offers her delicate wrists, and you cuff her with a gentleness you did not know you still possessed. The ritual of the task a small anchor in the roaring quiet of the room. You pull the chairman from the bed, his silk pajamas whispering against the sheets, and he stumbles on bare feet across the priceless carpet, his wife following in your teammate's grip with her head bowed. You lead them out of the shattered doorway and back into the perfumed corridor, the reality of the extraction settling over you like a lead weight, and you understand you are not leading a monster to justice, but escorting two terrified, half-dressed people through the labyrinth of their own home. You lead them back through the silk-hung corridor and into the silent study, the chairman shuffling in his cuffs and bare feet, and you pause at the threshold of the antechamber where the two young guards lie in the dark. His wife lets out a choked sob at the sight, and the chairman stops dead, his eyes locked on the bodies and the scattered cards, and for a long moment the only sound is the drip of blood and the old man's ragged, horrified breath. The chairman stares at the dead boys, his face collapsing into a ruin of grief and recognition, and he whispers a name you will never forget, the word hanging in the air like the smell of blood. You pull him forward, his bare feet skidding on the slick parquet, and his wife is weeping openly now as you lead them past the table and the dark shapes on the floor, the walk through the antechamber feeling like a mile as you move toward the grand hallway and the long climb back out. You emerge from the antechamber into the vast, cold silence of the grand hallway, the chairman and his wife stumbling between you, and you begin the long walk back the way you came, past the gilded door frames and the massive portrait whose eyes now seem to hold a different kind of judgment. The marble floor is icy under your boots, and their bare feet make soft, pathetic slaps against it, a sound that echoes in the cavernous dark as you retrace your steps toward the service stairs and the waiting sky. You reach the service door at the hallway's end and push it open, ushering the chairman and his wife into the concrete stairwell, the cold air smelling of dust and the distant rain. The climb back up is a slow, agonizing procession, the old man wheezing on the steps and his wife shivering in her silk robe, and with each flight, the weight of the palace seems to press down harder, the green-tinged walls closing in like the sides of a grave you helped to dig. You reach the roof access door and push it open to a world transformed. The monsoon rain now a fine, cold mist that hangs in the air, and the city below a silent sea of smudged neon, under a sky beginning to bleed the first gray light of dawn. Hey! The Black Hawk sits on the far side of the roof, its rotors turning in a slow, patient circle, and you lead your charges across the slick tiles toward its open bay, the downdraft whipping at your clothes and the promise of escape a hollow relief in your chest. You hand the chairman and his wife up into the Black Hawk's bay, their silk robes soaked through by the rotor wash, and you climb in after them to find the cabin's red light painting their faces in a hellish glow as the bird lifts off with a gut-wrenching surge. Emma, the palace roof falls away below you, a concrete island shrinking into the sprawl of the waking city, and you strap into the webbing beside your prisoners, watching the old man stare blankly at the floor as his wife's silent weeping becomes the only sound over the engine's roar. The helicopter banks hard over the river, the city's sprawl giving way to jungle and then to the open sea, and you sit in the vibrating dark with the smell of wet silk and fear thick in the cabin's recycled air. The chairman has not moved or spoken since you lifted off, his cuffed hands resting in his lap and his eyes fixed on some middle distance only he can see, while his wife has cried herself into a silent, shivering exhaustion against the vibrating fuselage wall. You are back in Virginia, weeks later, pushing a lawnmower across a yard that feels like a stage set, with the smell of cut grass and gasoline failing to mask the phantom scent of cordite and palace floor wax that lives in the back of your throat. You see the green-tinged face of the second guard every time you close the garage door, his hand fumbling for a pistol he never drew, and you understand the extraction was a trade where you gave a piece of your soul as down payment, a bargain with no refunds. You finish mowing and sit on your back steps, the evening air warm and thick with the scent of honeysuckle, and you stare at your hands as if they belong to someone else, the hands that flew the helicopter and fired the shots and cuffed the trembling wrists. The trade is complete. The monster is in a cage on the other side of the world, and you are here in the quiet dark, a ghost in your own skin, holding the part of you that didn't make it back.